In South Africa, I felt like a someone. Having a career in the same country you were raised in is something I consider a privilege these days. You tell people about the city you grew up in, they know it. You mention the school and university you went to, they know it. In the context of being a marketeer, you know the radio stations and their listeners. You know the influencers and the local celebrities. You know the local flair and the golden oldies of advertising. You know, like
Cafe Mocha.
Oh, Henry, I love it when you talk foreign.
Comment below if you immediately knew which brand this was from.
Then you immigrate. You come into an entirely new world and an entirely new culture. And all of the things that used to be super relatable are met with blank stares.
I hosted the editor of Cosmopolitan magazine and Nomzamo Mbata on a press trip to Bangkok.
Oh, that sounds absolutely wonderful, but who is she?
I mean, she only has 4.7 million followers and a foundation.
Hey Mish, this sounds like a great opportunity to show up in ways that you haven't before. A little reinvention, if you will. Remember that time that you were threatened for defamation of character over moving a microwave? Nobody has to know about that. Just, maybe don't do it again. This is your chance to create a new you, if you wish.
Well, perhaps that's what it's like for some people, but for me, it was easier to simply get inside my own head and allow the voices to take over. While creating this video, I came across this really great video by Sheba Chako. She explains that there are a set of preconditions for the possibility of developing imposter syndrome. Things such as being the firstborn, an only child, growing up poor, or being part of a minority group. She explains that
once the conditions are right,
imposter syndrome will settle in and wait until an event or transition requires you to leave your comfort zone.
And if immigrating is not stepping out of your comfort zone, then I don't know what is. So many of the opportunities begin to feel like obstacles because they don't fit what you know. And so you start to doubt yourself and wonder, who am I?
So, this is a video about losing your self-identity a little bit through the process of immigrating. It's about ways of working not being universal and how to get your head back in the game in those moments when imposter syndrome gets the better of you. It's about changing a bit, but not too much, because you are here for a reason. You have experience, you have culture, you have flair, and most importantly, you've got this.
I'm going to begin by talking about some of the things that I really struggled with. Let me know if you find them relatable in the comments below.
Michelle, you're not educated enough.
Something which is more likely to increase your chances of gaining access to the Netherlands in the field of marketing as a skilled migrant is by having an MBA. Which means that should you choose to join a multinational company, which let's face it, with the language barrier over here, you most likely will, then you are pretty sure to find yourself in a sea of people who chose to take their academia way further than you could have ever imagined. And suddenly your Dean's List awards and your little BA degree from the University of Johannesburg is not sounding quite as sexy, now is it?
Michelle, your experience is not good enough. Coming into a multinational and global company is going to expose you to far more worldly people. You're going to be working with people who have studied in 2 countries and lived in 4. And don't even get me started on how impressive Europeans are when it comes to just how many languages they know. In South Africa, I worked for 2 global brands, which really made it simple for myself to explain the experience that I had. But even coming into those roles, things started to feel significantly smaller than being at the center of everything within these global companies in the Netherlands, where you are literally the center support to all of Europe, if not even bigger than that. My global company experience began to feel so much more small and insignificant. Michelle, your culture is weird. Language is one thing. It can be learned, but what can't be learned is culture. Did you know that in the Netherlands, some people will greet each other with 3 cheek kisses? Not saying it's common, but I am saying that I've made a fool out of myself at least twice. Did you know that Turkish people hug twice, once on either side? I should have just hit these people with my South African handshake. Intimidate them a little. It'll take you a while to figure out what the ginger root is doing placed next to the cooker. Don't know what a cooker is? You'll figure it out soon enough. You'll slowly succumb to eating your lunch at 12 o'clock. If you don't, you're most likely going to be a bit of a no friends. Your sense of humor might be darker and less understood. I think that as a nation, South Africans tend to be quite sarcastic and we tend to take the piss with each other quite a lot. With all of the corruption and everything going on, we need to laugh about things because otherwise we'd just cry. But this isn't always globally understood. You'll get to experience Dutch directness, which I personally love. It's the no, that's not Dutch directness, that's just being a dick that I have a problem with. Depending on your experience, you might just be the quietest person in the room. Companies over here tend to be way less hierarchical. Everyone's opinion is valued, and boy oh boy does everyone have an opinion. You remember in the beginning I mentioned how you're going to need to change a little bit, but you shouldn't change too much. Well, I have one little example for you. So the one time when I head into the office to meet up with an old colleague of mine, so this means that I went by public transport, I arrived wearing a skirt, and this colleague said to me, "Oh, you can tell you're not from here because of what you're wearing." And I immediately went on this massive rabbit hole, and I overanalyzed and overanalyzed and overanalyzed, and eventually I was just like, "Oh, Michelle, like, conformity is so boring. Just wear your bloody skirt."
Michelle, your food is weird. If you're not eating a Kasbrocha, then what even are you eating? Don't worry, it's not that strict. But it definitely did stand out that I'm the one rocking up with a million different Tupperwares, which by the way is a Michelle thing and not a South African thing. And then the voices start to come. I'm not qualified enough. I don't belong here. I'm just lucky. I'm not as smart as everyone else. Maybe I should also study further. No, stop! You've got this. The sheer amount of time spent convincing myself that I deserve a place here, it's actually been nuts and exhausting to say the least. I can't just go making a video that is purely focused on the struggle. I have to add some sort of next steps and some sort of hope, because steps there are and hope there is. I'm by no means claiming to be an absolute master of this, but what I am going to say is that these couple of things definitely helped me with combating my imposter syndrome. Allow me to spill the tea. Yes, I know that was lame. Get over it. Number 1, write down your achievements. You're going to be needing this for your interview process anyway, so it's dual purpose. I really found that by sitting down and taking the time to take note of some of my achievements and accomplishments from the past few years, it acted as quite a confidence booster. Being in the field of marketing, we frequently have things like campaign creative or perhaps photographs from events that we've hosted that we're able to look back on and reflect on. And having solid photographic evidence in front of me was a sure sign to my brain to let me know that I can do this. It helped me to reduce the doubt a little bit. People in industries like videography, photography, graphic design are all encouraged to have a portfolio. And as a marketeer, there is no reason why you shouldn't have that too. There's actually a space on your LinkedIn profile to show these highlights from your career, with photographs, videos, links to websites, to really act as proper evidence of things that you had contributed to. Number 2. Discover free online courses. Just because doing a full-on MBA is not something that you wish to prioritize does not mean that you need to stop learning. There are so many free online courses available for you to upskill yourself. Within marketing, I can mention the likes of Google, Coursera, HubSpot, and even Facebook as some platforms that you could leverage. Continuous learning is always going to be a win-win. Number 3. Find a mentor or leverage your network. I don't have a mentor, but what I do have is a network that I'm able to reach out to if I'm ever in a phase of doubting myself. I definitely find it extra helpful if you're able to reach out to someone who you actually worked with, because they may be able to trigger you with things that you hadn't thought of before. Number 4, don't give up every part of yourself. Immigrating means integrating, but it doesn't mean that you need to give up on every single little part of yourself. You best believe that I've taught my colleagues what the word "ish" means so that I can continue to use it while being understood. And I'm sorry, but you're never going to get a South African to give up the word shame. It is deeply ingrained in us. That you have your own flair, you have your own culture, so bring it. Number 5 is a little bit more serious. Seek professional help. If imposter syndrome really is something that you're struggling with, then reach out to someone for professional assistance. For number 6, we should be switching out the tea for the champagne. Celebrate your wins. I'm going to circle back to point number 1 of taking note of your achievements. As marketeers in particular, I know for a fact that we are constantly rushing onto the next thing, onto the next campaign. We frequently don't take the time to look back at what we have just accomplished. At my previous job, I actually went through a phase of tracking every single thing that I had done that week, regardless of how big or small it was, just so that on a Friday I could look back and see the progress that I was making. And number 7, try your best to not compare yourself.
I know that this is something that is easier said than done, but when it comes to LinkedIn, we think, oh, it's just like a work platform, it doesn't matter. But while we doom scroll on things like Instagram and TikTok and we compare our bodies, our lifestyles, how much money we have, when it comes to LinkedIn, you're basically comparing your brains and sometimes just the luck that you get in your career. Some people do just tend to land with their bums in the butter, don't they? But as cliche as this might sound, we're all on our own journey. And if your progress is a little different to another person, then so be it. These are not once-off things. These are going to be things that you need to constantly put in practice. I really took quite a bit of time to bring my LinkedIn page up to scratch in terms of adding in little photographs and links to show my accomplishments. Firstly, so that recruiters are able to see it. But secondly, so that it's a page that I can go back to whenever I'm doubting myself to be like, you've got this. If you have also gone through something similar, then it would be really great if you would share your top tips in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, then please be sure to hit me with the little thumbs up. And if you want to stay up to date with my upcoming content, then be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye!